Welcome to De&th Diaries episode 8. I'm Andy. This is Richard. Today we're speaking to Dylan, who's a staff security engineer at Palo Alto and has worked at CyberArk and CrowdStrike before. I reached out to him because I was interested in IR, especially at a huge firm like Palo Alto. And honestly, I think it's really important for anybody in the field to actually talk to real people who work because most of the time you're getting your advice from, like outdated YouTube videos, Reddit, LinkedIn, and that's not really like accurate to what reality is. When you talk to somebody like Dylan, you get information on how like what exact tools he uses, what strategies he used to get to where he is, and just sort of like real security work. So that's why we got this episode. We're going to be talking about Scatter Spider. We're going to be talking about how he got into security and some answers about questions about content creation because he also has an Instagram that is popping off, and we're looking to do the same. So, Dylan, welcome. Could you give us like a background about how you got started in security?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, so my background basically, I really just got right into security super young. I wanted to be a hacker since like fifth grade. I was that kid who was always like on the proxy sites or downloading VBS scripts and fucking with the teachers. We can edit that out, right? I should
No, no, no. Wait, actually, I got an even better question. Like, what got you into RuneScape? Because I feel like it's super important to who you are.
Oh, bro, I started playing RuneScape because we would go camping up in like Pennsylvania, like in like the Dutch Wonderland. And the guy who was like on the corner lot from us, he showed it to me, and I've been hooked ever since. That was like I was like 11.
What year was that? Because I started playing RuneScape when I was like in 2008. My brother put me on like a laptop, and all I
2000,
did was get improve my woodcutting
yeah,
skills.
it was like 2008, 2009, something like that. Yeah, man. And I've been addicted ever since. Still play. Um, I almost have a maxed Iron Man, so that means I can't trade people. Uh, so I'm just a flat out nerd.
Can you explain what Iron Man is to people, like the entire challenge of it?
Yeah, so like in like a typical MMO game, like you can like, talk to other players, trade with people, buy things off the marketplace. Iron Man is basically kind of like if you play like ARPGs like solo self-found. So there's no trading. If you're bossing, you can only do it by yourself, except for like the raids. You have to get every drop yourself. If you need like 50,000 materials to get your skill to level 99, you need to get all 50,000 of them yourself. Um, no market house, just completely solo experience.
Sheesh,
I
dude.
think like the name's pretty accurate. It's really hard to hit those, and I want to share a personal story. Like one of like my earliest memories of like having trouble online, like cyber wise, was like the doubling scam where you'd like stand in like the markets. I forgot where, and people would like offer to double your money. All you had to do was like send them like 50,000 coins, and they promised 100, and they would just leave.
Yeah.
So I'd be down, 50K. And I feel like that was a huge motivator to get me into cyber because that's how I like started finding like null.to and some breach forums. And that got me interested. And I'm here talking to you. So yeah, let's continue. What got you into cyber after um
Yeah, I think
wanting
a
to be a
pivotal thing
hacker?
for me was also like media. I remember seeing the movie Hackers on MTV one night, and that was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Um, Now, granted, I've never gotten a hacking job, but it is what it is. But yeah, so then I uh, I got into digital forensics after that, and I worked with the government. Did some dead disk forensics there. Got kind of like my bearing into like what forensics looked like, and then I was like, this is boring. I want to at least be close to hacking in some form. So even if I'm not hacking, I wanted to do like instant response and like investigate breaches. That's kind of like what took me out of the traditional SOC path. Like I wanted to go right to IR consulting. Um, so I started applying, ended up at a smaller startup, and then got pretty decent at like Windows forensics and made my way over to CrowdStrike where I started working like really large incident response cases. And I got to learn a lot really quickly about Windows forensics, Linux forensics, AWS, Azure, and what these attacks actually look like, not just from like a kill chain perspective, but also like the forensics behind it, what's normal for the environments and stuff like that. So
Uh, I've been seeing a lot of people get into DeFi recently. Do you know why? Or it's just like, is that just a coincidence? Everyone on my feed now is on Zintra, is doing Sherlock, is getting into DeFi. Before it was like everyone wanted to be a pen tester. Now I'm seeing everyone wanting to do DeFi. Or is that
I'm
just
not
like the same thing, just on the opposite side, down the blue scene, on the blue team?
I'm not sure. Like I want to say like as people progress in their careers, especially on the blue team side, like they kind of just naturally flow more into deeper, right? Because like that's the progression, right? Like you start like level one, level two, and then like level three is all like DFIR. So maybe it's just the natural progression of things. I'm not sure. Um, I've also noticed though, like it seems like the sexiness of red teaming is kind of wearing off. Um, like 2019, 2020, everyone was like, "Oh, I want to learn how to hack,"
I mean,
um, because everyone was kind of like bored at home, and there's plenty of like hacking stuff on the internet. I feel like the blue team side of training is kind of slacking, um, especially and Hack the Box and Try Hack Me have like kind of like caught up to that. And I haven't checked out Zintra actually. I've been actually meaning to check that out. Um, but in my opinion, I think the blue team side is slacking because Sands has such a big market on like the corporate training. Um, like you have so many other like offshoots of like red team training, but nothing really for blue team.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a great point because I think the first like major blue team training was BTL1. It was like practical, it was hands-on, sort of showed you differ in a way you could
yeah,
follow, and it didn't seem to come out like too early like OSCP. It was like
yeah,
probably around 2020.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So
I
now we
And
mean,
have some.
that's
Oh,
one of my
yeah,
biggest gripes with like Security Plus, right? Everyone's like, oh, if you're a beginner, like a Security Plus, and like I get it, like it gives you like a baseline knowledge of like just security in general. But to say like Security Plus gets you ready for entry level work, I just feel like is dishonest because like yeah, okay, in Security Plus you learn about the incident response lifecycle, right? And one of them is like containment. Okay, you have to contain a host, but how do you actually do it? Or
exactly.
like how do you block an IP address in your firewall or your XDR tool? Like Security Plus doesn't teach you any of that. Um, even if it did it at like a basic level of like, I don't know, here's a screenshot of something. Defender. Like here's a screenshot of Defender. Like this is how you like actually like go in and navigate and do this. And I think that's where the disconnect is, like where everyone's like, we have all these open cyber jobs that we need to fill with no talent. I think it's just because the bulk of the talent doesn't take the next step of um, the actual practical hands-on work. And I think that's starting to shift because of the prevalence of social media and like YouTube and like people posting on LinkedIn. Like people are realizing, oh, I need to do more because this field is way more competitive than I was
Yeah,
told.
yeah,
Um, but like when I was in school, I was the only person spinning up virtual machines and doing stuff in like I was outside of the classroom. Um, Everyone else was like, no, I'm here. I do my work. I get good grades. I'll get a job out of school. Um, and it's just I don't know.
yeah, we went to a cyber meetup recently, and we spoke to a guy who had like a master's from USF, which is a really good school for cyber. And not to knock them down, but he was like, I don't know what to do. I have no motivation. I like after he got his bachelor's, he couldn't get a job, so he went for his master's. But he's still like 6 months out, and we're asking him like what have you been doing? And he's just like nothing, like no enjoyment. And like in school, like he might have run like Nessus and Burp Suite like one or two times, but like not enough exposure or like interest to actually get super deep in it. And like we didn't we like came through pure curiosity. We
yeah,
didn't get hand fed any like syllabus, and I guess I'm realizing how important it is to stay curious in this field. Like from the start, like follow what you really like. If you like Differ or Red Team, you sort of have to just like gun down that singular path,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
that's how
yeah.
you get good, in my opinion. I guess like since you've come up in multiple companies, like what is like an important trait that you value in yourself mainly? Like, what are you proud of that separates you apart, and or just like traits you see in other people that you try to emulate or think it's like important for a security professional?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is kind of like what guys have already said, being curious and not only being curious, but being able to like self-learn. So like early in my career, like I said, I was doing like dead disk forensics for the government and I wasn't even really doing forensics. Like that's being, uh,
Can you explain dead disk forensics?
no EDR.
Okay.
Like you're imaging the drive using like DD or, a Falcon or TX1 or something like that. And then you're just doing analysis on like the disk image.
Why is there no EDR? Is it because it's like air gapped or?
Well, so typically, in the government, you're going and seizing someone's computer. And I don't think you guys have
Oh,
EDR.
okay.
Like,
No, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It would be like
Okay, okay.
if I came right now and just took your shit, took your
Yeah.
computer, and was like, I'm doing forensics on this. Um, but so I came from that background, and I didn't have, and my degree was also in digital forensics, like based on law enforcement type work. So I didn't go to one of these schools where where you had a Splunk server and you learned how to like investigate logs or analyze a process tree. It was all just forensics and law. Like that was it. Um,
Yeah.
so so my experience was kind of backwards, right? So like I could parse a file table, like just looking at the hex. Like I could literally be like, this offset here, like this is this, like highlight it. But I couldn't tell you what a process tree was. Um, so I kind of like flipped it. I had to like learn it backwards. Um, and I self-taught myself, and I went from never touching a sim to working at CrowdStrike in a year and a half.
Sheesh, dude. Yeah.
So,
And
and I did that all by 13 cubed on YouTube.
oh
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Shout out Richard.
Hell yeah. Shout out Richard. I'm just saying, shout out Richard Davis.
I did 13 cubed on YouTube. I did, uh, what did I did stuff on Try Hack Me, because not only is it important to know the forensics, it's important to learn how companies are being attacked. So I did like stuff on Try Hack Me as much as I could to try to learn more of the red team side. And I read a crap ton of DFIR report.
Hell yeah.
Um, and I think at that point I didn't even have Splunk in my home lab yet, because I was focused on just red teaming.
Yeah.
I was going through the Cyber Mentors early version of Practical Ethical Hacker.
Okay. Can I give a side note? Dylan, that course is like 13 hours, right? 12
Mhm.
hours, I believe. That is what got me into cybersecurity. That is what got me into the field. I think
Oh
I
yeah.
came home from day. I was a like serial like Fortnite player. I don't know if anyone knows this, but I used to create content and crap on it. And one day, I think YouTube recommended that exact video from the Cyber Mentors, this old ethical hacking video
It was like 12
where
hours.
it was like 12
Oh, okay, I
hours.
watched the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you set up like a Linux, you learn Linux, basic Linux commands, like basic Python, you set up like a Windows VM, and that is exactly what got me into security. So that's cool that we've all kind of like ran into this video.
Yeah, yeah, no, that definitely helped me out there a
He
lot.
deserves his Lambo.
Yeah.
And there's one thing like I can recommend, like if anybody's interested in forensics, it's a pain in the ass, but look into CFCE through IASIS. Um,
Look into
it
that.
is it's more of a dead disk certification, so like it won't help you learn how to do EDR or anything like that. Um, but you learn forensics at a super low level. Um, and they assign you a coach to work through the first half of it. And you have to solve these problems. No forensics tools. All you use is a hex editor to answer these forensics questions. And if you have the slightest misrepresentation of the data, it's wrong. It could be something as simple as, when you parse the hex, you put an uppercase letter instead of a lowercase. They're
Yeah.
very strict on the answers you provide, because it's preparing you to be bulletproof for court.
Okay, no, this is sick. You shouldn't have told me this because now I'm gonna want to take this, sir.
It's pricey.
$800.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have forensic experience, they make you go to in-person training. If you have experience, you can self-study, which is what I did.
Okay.
Um,
If anyone's listening out there, and you have connects, give me a voucher. I love you. Thank you.
Double it up.
Yeah, double it up. So you went from CrowdStrike getting into forensics into talking about Scattered Spider and giving a whole talk, a presentation on it. How was your experience with that? What did you speak about? How was the whole experience, dude?
Actually, like, when did you first hear about Scattered Spider? Because
Yeah.
I feel like these guys were just so much more different than other threat
Oh.
actors.
I don't know, the first day they started.
Okay.
Uh, so I was at CrowdStrike at the time, and I was like, I don't know, 3 months in, something. Well, yeah. So I started 20, July 2022, and I think our first case was like October, maybe. I don't know. I was there for like a month or two, and I get this case, right? It's a typical, hey, like this is pre-ransomware. This customer, you know, is definitely experiencing an incident right now. Like we need to evict these guys like ASAP. I'm like, okay, great. And I remember doing anyone familiar with Falcon has Falcon has RTR, right? So I remember I'm looking through this host and going through it, just kind of like poking around, seeing what's there. And I see a folder with like 16 different remote management tools in it. I'm like, what the hell? This is really weird. I've never seen that before. And
16, holy crap.
honestly, it might have been more. Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is odd. Like, we need to get like blocks in for these, and I'm just like spitting them out like in our Slack chat, like block this, block this, block this, block this. And as I'm going through, like I see these like text files, and Scatter Spider is known to be like super abrasive, offensive, however you want to say it. And I'm just like reading these text files. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Like, this is absolutely insane. Um, and yeah, so long story short, I ended up getting moved off of that case, just because we had other clients that I had to work for, whatever. Um, but that was the first time I've ever had experience with Scattered Spider, and I didn't realize that it was them at the time because it was just kind of like, what is going on? Um, and then they came back every weekend for like 3 years.
What?
Not at that company, but at a new company every weekend for like I not well a year, and then they took their break, and then they came back, and then it was like another 6 or so months, and then took another break, and they came back again that last time. Um, but yes, it was hell. Um, they're really crazy. Because you could be on a customer call with them, not with them, but you could be on a call with the customer saying like, yeah, these people are in my environment right now. Like, what do I do? And you're trying to walk them through like hardening their cloud environment. And while you're doing that, Scattered Spider's encrypting their VMs. And
Yeah.
it's like it's so defeating. Um, because like sometimes it just doesn't matter like how fast you are, like you just can't get to them before they achieve their objectives. So so that's what kind of like going back to the talk. 3 years later, I had a professor of mine reach out. She hosts a conference at Penn State, and she asked if if I had the ability to do a talk for her at her conference. I was like, yeah, sure. I'll do something. And I was like, "Ugh, what can I talk about? Like, I have this horrible like imposter syndrome thing, and I'm still dealing with this, right? Um, where it's like, if I'm going to put out a blog or like put out research, it's like I want it to be something novel, but
Yeah.
it's like, how do I find the novel stuff? Like, I don't have access to like massive amounts of data. Like, I guess I could like do like some OSINT work on Virus Total or something, but like I want to present like a unique idea, like not something that's already been out there. So I was like, you know what? I'll talk about Scattered Spider. A lot of the organizations maybe in my local area. I mean, Philly is not like a big tech hub, so maybe some of the people who come to this conference might actually get something useful out of this conversation. So I decided to do a talk on like Scatter Spider, like kind of like their background, some common TTPs, and the kill chain walkthrough. And then I like did like a slide on like detection and hardening, mainly focused on like the ESXi and VMware space. And that's kind of where I took my unique quote unquote idea for the talk, because I mean, at the time and now, ESXi and VMware are still kind of the Wild West for a lot of orgs. Um, I mean, for the longest time, like people weren't even forwarding their ESXi logs to their SIM, because like there was really no reason to. Like ransomware operators weren't targeting it until like late 2022. Um, I think that's when we start seeing ransomware start targeting ESXi. Um, but so yeah, that's kind of like where the idea of the talk came from.
Oh, first of all, congrats on getting LeBron.
Oh hell yeah, go Sixers!
But if you have that talk, we'd love to see it.
Yeah, I can share it out. Let me.
Uh, in the meanwhile, I'm like I think I haven't analyzed Scattered Spider from like a technical perspective. I don't really know their TTP, but from like the comm side or uh like they're infamously known as social engineers, script kiddies, and for them to be like so impactful, it just doesn't make sense. And a lot of people I feel like are still arguing and struggling with that. Um, one person I've been following is Allison Nixon. She's a researcher, and she's been like personally involved with them for years. And a quote she said was, we keep downplaying them as script kiddies and social engineers, and people aren't like super technical, but they've been ransomwaring hospitals and so many companies, and why does it matter how they do it if they still have this much impact? And
Yeah.
we should, or her call to action was like, just take them as seriously as you take any other threat actor because their track record is really good. What do you think
Yeah,
about like the
I
demographic and their skills?
I think just because their initial access vector is social engineering does not mean they are not sophisticated. Now that doesn't mean that they're APT level sophisticated. Like I saw someone post on Twitter talking about something how there's a myth that Scattered Spider is an APT. And I'm like, I don't think anyone ever said they were an APT,
No
but
one said that.
but they are a lot more sophisticated than your typical ransomware group. Um the speed the hard part is, right? The the social engineering aspect is so good. Not only do they do that, they can like they social engineer your help desk to reset MFA. They also, for the longest time, had SIM swapping capabilities because a lot of them have ties to the comm, and they would just use their comm contacts to either a legitimately like go into the stores and SIM swap that way, but they also, and CrowdStrike did a good blog on this. They Before they started compromising companies, they were compromising the business BPOs, business provider outsourcing. So like they would target the outsourcing companies of the telecoms, get into their systems,
Oh,
and then when they would request the password reset, they were already not the SIM swap, they were already inside of the servicer who does that for the telecom companies.
okay.
So they didn't
That's
need to
insane.
compromise the telecom companies. They compromised their business partners and used that access to SIM swap targeted accounts.
Hmm.
Um, and that was before they pivoted to ransomware. So like I kind of get into this in the talk too, right? Before they pivoted to ransomware, they typically were just stealing source code and trying to get money that way, and it wasn't working. So they were, all right, we're going to partner with I think AlphaV, and we're going to start ransoming, like encrypting people,
That's crazy.
because they were targeting like source code and like high profile like crypto accounts, and that's why they were like SIM swapping originally. But like I've seen them tear apart like big organizations with big security budgets, and the speed that they do it, like you can kind of see. I think I have it in this talk, like the speed of when they reset a password versus when they reset the next one, and then not only are they targeting your on-prem environment, but they're also pivoting to cloud and locking you out of your cloud plane, and then encrypting your ESXi within a span of like 4 hours.
This is from like before
Dude.
AI, and now that they have like AI capabilities, I'm even more scared.
Yeah.
Like another thing I want to share was two recent Scattered Spider members got arrested. I think in the UK, and they stole like 115 million. And they got 5 years. But people were arguing in the chat like, oh, like Scattered Spiders no more. Like we caught everybody. But then someone pointed out in the name Scattered Spider, these guys are so decentralized. They're scattered across the globe. That like taking a couple guys out doesn't really do much. I just think they're a really unique threat. Honestly, like I don't think they're going anywhere, even if like they've sort of died out.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially since they've technically, I guess it depends who you ask, but they've merged into the shiny Pokemon card hunters, I guess. That's what I
Yeah.
call them now.
Then they merged with like two other threat actors.
Yeah, shiny hunter, Lapsus, Scattered Spider,
They
the
all,
SLSH or whatever they are supposedly called. Um,
yeah,
I,
this is,
I just I just call them shiny Pokemon card collectors.
they got the whole group.
I think what would be great content is like the being in the Telegram group chats and just sort of like voicing out what's going on. I think it's really entertaining to watch. We have like a couple CTI friends that just constantly monitor that. I know when they were beefing with CrowdStrike, and I think those are really funny.
I
Um,
a few. a little bit ago, earlier in like later last year, um, my boss reached out to me and he was like, Scattered Spiders claiming that they have four global protect. Yeah, Scattered Spiders claiming they have a global protect vulnerability and they have access to CrowdStrike. I said they're lying
Oh,
because they always talk. They showboat, like they talk out their ass. And I think it was like 3 months later, like they came out and said, oh hey, like by the way, like we have an insider at CrowdStrike who's been feeding us these screenshots. It's like, oh, okay, so you really don't have a global protect 0 day. Like you're lying. Like
Yeah,
they like to showboat a little bit. But
yeah.
I can walk through this talk if you guys want.
yeah,
I'll try to kind of like get the meat of it here, and you probably won't get the full effect of all of my jokes because I don't remember them. Um, so yeah, so this is the scatter. You can see my screen.
Yeah.
Word. All right, so this is the Scatter Spider talk. I titled it "Scatter Spider: How a Group of Teenagers Killed SMS-Based 2FA," and I think you could debate whether or not SMS-based 2FA was already dead, but this definitely just kind of like drove the nail in the coffin. Just a little bit about me, which we kind of already covered.
what's an
Kind of,
MTB?
oh, mountain biking. I'm big into mountain biking.
Yeah.
Um, haven't been in a bit, but it's kind of like one of my favorite like outside hobbies. So this like a background, common TTPs, walk through the kill chain, some detection and hardening, and then time for Q&A. So scattered what? Like if you've ever never heard of Scattered Spider before, probably living under a rock, but very young, UK and US based. I mentioned this before, lots of overlap with the com. Are you guys familiar with the com?
I am, but if you want to introduce it to the audience, I think
Yeah,
it'd be
so
good.
it's like this I'm gonna try to like use like pretty standard words here, just online community of degenerates,
Yeah.
where they participate in a bunch of nefarious acts. A lot of it ends up leading to like sextortion, physical violence. Um, Actually, that guy who got assaulted outside of around the White House in Washington D.C. is supposedly a member of the com or old member of the com. So
Mhm.
uh, just take that with what you will. Um, their primary goal of encrypting an organization virtualization environment and data theft and extortion. They want to go right for the virtualization environment because they can do the most impact as quickly as possible. All right, so kind of like a timeline, like I kind of said here. May of 2022, they started targeting BPO and telecom industry. Uh, and they weren't, like I said, like they were doing this to do SIM swapping on targeted crypto account holders, getting the companies to steal source code, and it wasn't really panning out for them money wise. So they decided to pivot and partner with Alfie Ransomware. Uh, September 23 was when they hacked MGM and the other casino. And then they're obviously, once you start messing with, big target like that, it draws some attention to you. And they had some arrests and a hiatus in 2024. And then they came back with a vengeance in 2025 and got M&S, Victoria's Secret, insurance industry, and airlines. So I started working at CrowdStrike in July of 2021. So from May of 2022 to April 2025, my life was hell because of them. Um, so kind of like getting into this again, like kind of like BPO and telecom, like reiterating, like the main reason for this was to get SIM swapping capabilities to target crypto wallets and financial institutions. But they were broke. I think I broke this up into different sections. So we're just going to kind of skip through this a little bit. They pivoted to Alfie, and the reason why they did this, Alfie was written in Rust, which is very important, right? So when it's written in Rust, the same binary can be used to encrypt Windows and ESXi. So they didn't need separate binaries for the Windows and ESXi versions. And they also started deploying this like triple extortion model. So they were ransoming you with the ransomware. They were exfiltrating data so that if you didn't pay the ransom, you would hopefully pay for the exfiltrated data so it didn't get leaked. And then on top of that, if you didn't pay either of them, they were physically like calling the CEOs, the employees, threatening them, saying like, if you don't pay this ransom, like we're gonna burn your house down. And there's been some calm people who have been arrested for arson, so like, it could have happened. hacking casinos, September 7th, kind of, we talked about this social engineering attack on an IT vendor. And then over the span of 4 days, they were able to pivot from that IT vendor to Caesars and encrypt on September 11th. And then they made the ransomware demand 3 days later.
I remember
Uh,
that so vividly. Yeah.
yeah, that was the first time where at CrowdStrike they were sending people on site. Typically, like a lot of CrowdStrike stuff is done remotely, but this was so bad. Like they sent, I think, like 7 or 8 people on site to help, um, if not more than that. So let's like after that we can kind of like dive into some of this a little bit more. Like how are they doing the social engineering? What are they using to attack on-prem VMware, and how do they pivot to the cloud? Right. So social engineering, kind of like 3 steps here. They're SIM swapping, so they're calling the mobile carrier, somehow getting past the protections. People like have weak authentication or something like that, or too much personal data on the internet, and they trick the rep into SIM swapping. Sorry, I had to sneeze, but it went away. Another thing that they like to deploy is like MFA fatigue. So they'll just straight up like bully that sign-in prompt until the person at 3 a.m. is like, "Oh my God, I'm so tired. Like I'm so tired of seeing this like alert go off like every 2 seconds. Like just accept it." Um, oh, we've also seen like them reach out to the user and say like, "Hey, like this is the director of the IT department. Like I'm not stopping until you accept this push. Like I need it." And then like social engineering the help desk for password resets and resetting MFA. Oh God, this is horrible colors. I remember Google Drive did this to me before. Okay. On-prem, they do mass deployment of remote management tools, which is kind of like what I said, like in that first case I saw.
Why
They just
16 of them? Like, is it
they
just like
just throw like anything they have. So like they'll use AnyDesk, ConnectWise, they'll use Teleport.
Bongo?
They'll just straight up anything that they can get on the host, they'll use it.
Okay.
I think it's just so, if you get rid of one, they always have like another way in. Um, and it's kind of like a spray and pray too, right? Because if you can get the same kind of RMM on a host that a company uses, you kind of blend in.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a really hard part about forensics sometimes. Like if the organization uses a Terra and the threat actor is getting in with a Terra, like a Terra, like it can lead to some confusion and like trying to figure out like which sessions are legitimate and not. Very fast lateral movement account takeover, and they continue to social engineer via Teams to gain access to sensitive applications and password vaults. So I actually worked a case right before I left CrowdStrike. I'm talking to this guy like on the phone, like this, like on a video chat, and I'm like, okay, your password vault, because they have like this master break glass account to get into ESXi. I'm like, they're going to target your ESXi. How do you get the password to sign into ESXi? And he's like, the only way you can get that account is to get this password vault. I'm like, okay, did you change the password for that password vault already? Yes. Only me and one other person know the password. Within that evening, they social engineered that person to give them the password. And the next, literally that evening, 3 hours later, we got an alert saying that they SSH'd into ESXi with that account, even though the guy changed the password 3 hours or like 3 hours earlier.
You told the dude.
So that's one part. All right, and then pivoting to the cloud, right? Once they are on your on-prem, they will pivot to the cloud. They're very skilled in the cloud, and they will lock you out. I've been on calls with customers where we are kind of walking them through the hardening steps, and you can kind of see everything happening in the control plane of like them making users, trying to lock out the global administrator, deleting the global administrator account. So like you can't get back in as a global administrator. If they get into your cloud plane, like we were telling customers to just straight up quarantine your cloud environment. And that's a very big decision for companies and breaks everything. But we were at the point where it's like it's better that you're in control of what's happening, and instead of like them completely just destroying everything. Because if they lock you out of your global administrator account, you have to like call Microsoft and have them let you back in. And that what they also do like a lot of like data exfiltration from S3 buckets and things like that. Virtualization infrastructure. So at the time I made this talk, they were currently encrypting virtualization with Dragon Force ransomware. gain access to vSphere and ESXi to deploy ransomware and maintains persistence through the proxy tool called Teleport. There was one really cool thing about Teleport specifically. When you establish a teleport session, all of that log, like your actions get like video, like screen recorded, and you can like watch it back. So that was really cool to see, kind of like in real time, like what they were doing on the box instead of like looking at the logs.
Oh, that's cool.
And this is kind of like where I talk about the speed a little bit. Let me look at my notes. Hold on here, because compared to average dwell time, I think the average dwell time is 16 days. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So compared to the average dwell time of 16 days, they were fully encrypting and exfiltrating data in a long weekend. So like this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier. You could tell they were high school kids because they wouldn't do anything during the week. And then like Thursday night, Friday, it would pick up. And if your organization made it to Sunday, you were safe until Thursday or Friday of the next week. Um, and
Oh,
you could,
that's
Hilarious.
yeah,
hilarious.
and you could see like they would start at one org, they would finish, and then within like an hour, they would bounce to the next one. So you could literally just watch them go from org to org. And they would towards the end, they were doing sectors at a time, right? So you would literally see this insurance company, like they're logging into this insurance company. Then 6 hours later, they're logging into this insurance company, and then 6 hours later, they're going to like just like a checklist, just a whole sector at a time.
It's crazy.
So getting into some of their TTPs, like initial access, kind of talked about this, very skilled in social engineering help desks and SIM swapping. One of the things that you could look for, like if you have the type of tool is kind of blanking on me, but like I think it's like brand protection. Like you can like look for typo squatting domains. So like they register very real looking domains probably like 2 or 3 days before they start trying to send phishing emails. So it'll be like your company name -sso.org. Like obviously like a typo squat. They want to try to establish that infrastructure and then send phishing emails. Enumeration. Once they gain access, they start rummaging through like SharePoint, Confluence for documentation on network architectures, secrets, and guides to add devices to networks. So like a lot of the things we saw is they would gain access and they would look for like the VPN onboarding document and they would onboard their own device to the VPN, right? Um, Social engineering for teams to request access to sensitive applications and Active Directory enumeration. And then let me see. Yeah, here we go. Here's my notes too. So like they connect AD reconnaissance on on-premise systems using like AD Explorer, AD Recon, and the Get AD user PowerShell. Um, they cloud identity providers, privileged access management systems. One of the cool things that like I was seeing too is they would access like CyberArk Vault to look for systems to check out. So like expand their access, gain access to privileged access, check out the passwords from CyberArk Vault, and then like log right into to any other system they wanted to. And then persistence, domain federation abuse. This is where you kind of like create a backdoor that allows the threat actor to authenticate to a domain that they control instead of the organization's. So like it's like setting up like a rogue like Okta tenant, like in a sense, right? And this allows for token theft and forgery for any user in the environment and can bypass further MFA. They do MFA changes, so they register a new MFA device. They delete MFA devices. They change MFA policies in Entra, and then they use like legitimate protocol tunneling and proxy tools on VMware and adversary controlled VMs like Chisel. Uh, they would communicate with tri Cloudflare subdomains, MOBA, Xterm, ngrok, Pingy, RSox, Teleport, and then like RMM tools like TeamViewer, etc.
Every tool, like.
Yeah, they threw the kitchen sink everywhere. And then like like they're gonna try to do credential access too. So like we would see them literally like searching in SharePoint for documents with secrets, look for access to password vaults. They would do ntds.dit dumping, basically like run of the mill like credential access stuff. And this might be like why they get kind of called like a script kiddie because like they don't do anything crazy. It's just super fast, right? I think that's where what's scary comes from is the speed that they do it. It's not necessarily the techniques they're using, it's just the
What
speed.
would you consider crazy techniques? Like, what else are you seeing in the wild from like ABTs that, they would consider this amateur work?
I mean, APTs are just super like stealthy, right? So like a lot of the times, like, your Chinese Nexus actors are sitting in an environment for years, and not getting detected. Like all this stuff, they don't care. Like this is going to light up your sim like crazy, right? Um, I think that's like what the difference is. They just do it so fast it doesn't matter.
It doesn't, yeah.
Like I mean, I like I said earlier, like we've literally at CrowdStrike, like we were literally on the phone with people, and then all of a sudden their stuff is encrypted. Like
Oh,
they're like, "Oh my God, what do we do?" And like, okay, you need to follow this guide. And as they're doing the guide, they're like, "Nope, too late."
it's like
So, data exfil, use S3 browser to enumerate victims' AWS buckets, like CloudTrail events, and exfiltrate data to remote controlled buckets. So, some investigation tips: audit the use of legitimate tools such as TeamViewer, Pulseway Teleport, and AnyDesk. Monitor for any lateral movement through RDP, SSH, PsExec. Obviously, that's like a big ask, but whatever's normal for your environment, you can narrow that down. Identify attempts to extract ntds.dit from domain controllers. Look for targeted help desk impersonation calls or messages attempting to reset passwords or MFA for privileged accounts. Um, and track usage of bring your own vulnerable driver techniques that they were using to bypass endpoint detection and response. And some other things that you can do for this is like monitor risky sign-ins, sign into the same session ID in drastically different locations, review Octalogs for any SaaS apps, and then cloud monitoring SaaS tools can make this easier. So like we were using like Obsidian or Adaptive Shield, something like that. Kind of gets all your SaaS and cloud monitoring tools in one pane of glass, to use an industry marketing term. Uh, but it makes it easier to kind of build detections around your cloud apps.
Yeah, I wanted to also like include something
Yeah.
because you mentioned Confluence. I think everyone should heavily audit their Confluence, their Slack, their Teams, um, and also enable logging for all those because a lot of orgs by default don't have logs on who's accessing what document, but those can tell a lot
Yeah.
if someone does get in there.
I agree. And this is gonna be a shout out to Slack and Google Drive to like fix your logs. Uh so so like in Slack, right? If you like open Slack and you click on a attachment just to view it, it triggers a download event in the logs, even if you didn't actually download it.
Mm,
So like for a forensics person, like that's really annoying because like you want to have that clarity of like, was this actually downloaded, like physically downloaded to the device? Like if someone just opened it, that's completely different than a download, right?
yeah.
Especially if you're thinking of like insider threat scenarios and you're trying to figure out, did this person like download a sensitive document to their personal phone? If they click on it in Slack, which a lot of people do, like I click on a lot of documents on my phone in Slack. Um, you really want to know if that's a download or not. So fix your logs.
So speaking of insider threats, I feel like a lot of the com members and Scatter Spider in general, they offered a lot of operator bonuses or insider bonuses. Like how did that provide like a unique challenge to these cases? Like were you aware and like how does that like change the investigation?
Sure. So I don't think, from my knowledge, um, during my time at CrowdStrike, any of the cases that I've worked or worked with others had that insider threat angle. The first time I've seen them do the insider threat was after I already left, and that's how they gained access to that CrowdStrike. Um, I think it was like their Okta panel. Those screenshots they had, they paid the insider for. Um, so I don't have any experience with that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so some monitoring that you can do, right? Monitor infrastructure. VMware and ESXi is essential for detecting any kind of infrastructure manipulation and unauthorized access. Firewall logs, obviously. Um, but you'd be surprised. I've worked with orgs before where they say they're logging their firewall logs, and you check, and it's not traffic logs, it's syslog. So make sure you're logging your firewall logs, DNS logs, web proxy logs, your identity and authentication systems, right? So track authentication anomalies in your SSO platforms, monitor your Entra ID and sign-on logs for any kind of identity-based and privilege escalation attempts, and then your PAM applications as well for privileged access or credential misuse. Um, Cloud and SaaS applications, monitor cloud resource manipulation and configuration changes. Critical SaaS apps, monitor SaaS applications for application level threat detection. Um,
Shout out Jason.
huh?
No, we have a friend, Jason, and he created a blog recently where he spoke about all the API calls used typically when threat actors are doing enumeration and exfiltration in the cloud. So think he called it cloud choke points. We'll link it in the description. So it's good.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that similar to what Tyler's doing? I think I saw his like choke point site.
I think it's somewhat similar, but he purely focused on I think all the APA calls in AWS, I believe. I'll have to give it a skim again.
Yeah, cool. I'll check that out. I've been doing a lot of like AWS threat hunting in my current role, so
Oh yeah, I'll link that later.
uh, yeah. And then so VMware detections, right? So what can you look for in your VMware environment? You can look for vCenter in vCenter, look for virtual machines created with recently uploaded ISOs. So like one thing they were doing is they were creating virtual machines with like ISOs for domain controllers. Or they were making ISO and then attaching the domain controller as a disk to that ISO to like create their own domain controller.
Do DC sync. What was the
Yep.
point of creating their own domain controller?
To do DC syncs.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Uh, um, look for successful logins to the ESXi host client web administration interface. So like, obviously if they're signing in to the web administration interface, that gives them more control of ESXi systems. Um, look for new IPs for SSH logins detected, right? So ideally in a strong organization, you should only be SSHing from a known jump box.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, you should do so. And you want to make sure you have detections for any scenarios where there's somebody logging in, not from that jump box. And you also want to make a detection for whenever the SFTP server gets enabled, right? So that's the main way they transfer their tooling into ESXi is through SFTP. So if that gets turned on, because it should be disabled by default, right? If it gets turned on, have a detection for that. Kind of like talk about this, some identity detections, risky sign-ins, deleted MFA methods on admin accounts, bulk download of user lists. So this is one of the ways that they would enumerate like your O365 environment. Like they would just straight up download all your users. Um, tap added to user accounts like temporary access passes, and then any kind of global administrator role assignments. Some different hardening steps here, and see if I can try to remember these. For when you're doing help desk resets, make sure you have identity verification, either through like showing a license or having a manager on the phone and being like, "Oh yeah, I recognize that voice. Like that's my employee." Now with deepfakes and AI assisted phone calls, I have no idea how that's going to change.
Yeah.
But phishing resistant to MFA is the next one, like using YubiKeys, split privilege accounts for infrastructure off of Active Directory. So like if your Active Directory gets compromised and they, download the ntds.dit and they're able to crack your VMware password, try to avoid that. Restrict creation of new virtual machines to specific accounts. Try to make as hard as possible for them to gain access to ESXi and make new machines. Restrict ability to add devices on alternate Active Directory. Isolate access to VMware backups. Disable SSH when not in use and use ESXi lockdown mode. But yeah, I mean, the identity verification part is definitely changing because of AI and deepfakes. I'd be interested to see what we can do to kind of put a curb on that one. So where are we now? The group is currently on hiatus, multiple arrests out of the US and UK. This was a talk from October, so there's been obviously more arrests with what was his name? Peter Stokes just got arrested like not too long ago. So I don't know where we're going to go from here if the group is going to be as active as they once were. But that's basically the talk.
Hell yeah. No, that was awesome, dude. That was awesome.
Yes, sorry it's not as polished. I wasn't
No, I think
not
that's a
I
great
wasn't as
overview.
read in. Yeah.
What I realized from like your overview is that it's not like novel attacks. It's not like super sophisticated. In my opinion, as long as you have strong login on everything and you have proper alerts and you have like proper incident response, you can mitigate a lot of this, at least nowadays.
Mhm.
But I am like
Well,
super curious, like getting hit
so
first and trying to like associate the behaviors. What
yeah,
the
so the hard part is too, right? Um, until they do something really bad, a lot of the EDR isn't going to detect it, right? So you're gaining initial access on an account that is already admin. You're deploying RMM tools. I mean, most of the time, an EDR isn't really going to detect on, an RMM tool because it's a legitimate application, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have specific rules in place for that. I mean, I would have customers like, Scatter Spider or not. What do you mean? The third actor used AnyDesk. How come you didn't catch it? Well, sir, I'm sorry. Like
Come
AnyDesk isn't
on.
AnyDesk isn't a bad application.
And
Like,
don't we use it, by the way? Like,
yeah, yeah. So like the initial access part can sometimes be a little tricky to detect. Um, and if you never know, man, like they might get initial access. It's already an admin account. They have the access to set up a new machine on the VPN, or they get access to the password vault right off the rip just because of the access they already have, and they didn't even make an alert yet.
Do you have any theories on like the ecosystem of scatter spiders? Like how do these kids like gain this knowledge?
I have
Would
no idea.
Gotcha.
Um, I'm not an Intel guy, so I have no clue. Um,
the actual APTs like teach them.
Yeah.
They're like, here, come, my little children. We'll pay you to get into these companies and we'll get a share.
I
No,
mean,
I
it's kind of like that happened with what Conti, right? I mean, they had that whole beef with the Russia-Ukraine war and it leaked their playbook, and their playbook was literally run this command, click this. Like it was spelled out like super easy for these operators to just do.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So since you gave this talk, like how do you have you like still kept up with Scatter Spider and like what do you think of them since this?
I haven't really kept up with them that much. I mean, I kept up with them enough to know what detections to tell our SOC and detection engineers to put in. Um, and that's really it. I don't really feel the need to keep up with them that much.
Hell yeah. That's cool. I think what's going on through my head now is that, dude, like you're going through training platforms, you're a tier one, tier two, and you think you're becoming competent, right? You think you're learning the skills, and then you hop into an MDR, a place like this. You see this activity, you're hit with an incident like this, and you're like, what the fuck did we just get hit by? Just because you've never been exposed to it. And I think that talks to like the importance of being at a not just a good company, but surrounded by people who are really skilled, like getting exposure
Yeah.
because like it's not the same, dude. If you stay at one level at one company and then like there's dudes at a different company, like probably less time and security than you have, dealing with incidents like this that like you're just never gonna be able to catch up to them because
That's a really good point. I think a lot of, companies ask for experience of like, 2, 3 years of experience, but I think what they really mean is like, do you have exposure to all these threats and
yeah,
do you like know what to do when you get hit with one of these? And most people, if they're green, if they've only done like labs and haven't thought about it too much, they're just gonna be like, no, I don't have that. And
yeah,
that's really easy to tell. If you don't have exposure, you just can't
just
recount
don't.
your
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's surface level. You think like, oh, well, they're asking for 1 to 2 years of experience or 5 years of experience, but
That's all.
that's not the point. The point is not the number. It's like, okay, 5 years, what have you dealt with? Well, like give us some context. And I think that it's scary that someone with maybe 2 years hopped into CrowdStrike and is dealing with Spider off the bat. And someone could be at a SaaS company for 5 years, 10 years, dealing with the same fucking VPN alerts.
Yeah.
Um, so that's
Yeah.
scary.
Part of me feels like it's a conundrum, right? Because I really feel like to get the most value, people should kind of go towards like the MDR type roles. Like, right? I mean, being a full incident response consultant isn't for everybody, but especially if you're at a small org, like I used to work at a healthcare facility, right? And we outsourced a lot of our alerts to third party. So I was doing a lot more like auditing work, even though I wanted to do the technical stuff. But even then, I question how much technical work I would have been exposed to, even if we did manage our own alerts, um, because there's just some environments where like you're not exposed to these kind of things, right? Um, and that can be like maybe your environment's really locked down, right? You don't have true positive alerts firing, so a lot of the alerts you're dealing with are benign or false positives. How do you get that experience of like dealing with something like this? At least with an MDR, you have so many chances to get exposed to a customer experiencing a real incident. Um, The work's probably a little bit more high stress, but I feel like it kind of pays for itself in experience.
Yeah. And that's exactly the experience that we were hungry for, that we've been, slowly creeping up and desiring. But yeah,
Uh,
no, that's
I mean, it takes a special kind of person to want to do like MDR consulting work, I think, because it's a lot more stressful than a typical internal role.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like my own story, like I was told to, get into MSSP as like your first shot at anything. Like if you don't have IT experience or you don't have like a degree or you're not coming out of RIT, like get into MSSP. They hire everybody. It's kind of sweatshop, but you'll get your experience, and that's exactly what happened to me. But the clients I was dealing with were like hospitals and small mom and pop shops where the alerts aren't that crazy. So then I was like, okay, how do I get, more depth? Like I want to do more. I don't want to just like do an alert, forward it to the internal security team. So I was told to go to an internal company. That's where I moved. I'm in an internal SaaS company and I'm doing a lot more. I'm doing detections. I'm doing a little bit of IR. But now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, I'm hungry for more incidents. And after talking to you, I'm realizing, okay, now I need to go to an MDR where they are getting hit with a lot of incidents. And
Mhm.
um, as you said, do full-time incident response.
Consulting, yeah.
Yeah. I know that you guys like to talk about projects and stuff. Have you guys seen Rustinol yet?
What? No.
Rustinol? Oh, let me
No.
put you guys on. Let me put you guys on
Oh
Google. All
yeah.
right, hold on. I'll share my screen here. I'm bummed because I had to completely rip out my home lab, so I don't have it running anymore. But
Yeah, please, please do
This
share your
is
home lab.
this is Rustinol. Um, this is an open source EDR, and it
Hmm.
actually looks like since last time I had it running, they added Linux and Mac support.
Oh,
Um, when I say EDR loosely because it doesn't actually respond to things. This is for like EDR testing. So like you can kind of go into here like um, it collects your native kernel telemetry, right? So it like runs on ETW and Windows, and like whatever similar for Mac and Linux. Um, and it runs Sigma and Yara rules on it, and it outputs anything it detects into a ND file that you can upload right into Splunk or whatever SIM you have. Um, and he added, looks like the person added more detection rules. Like none of these were here when I first set it up. Um, so like you can install it on your home lab.
hmm.
You can practice writing Sigma rules.
Hmm.
You can put them in your directory for Rustinol, and it auto reloads. So like the rule gets loaded right in, and then you can run it on your environment. And if it works, it spits out an alert, and you can feed it right into Splunk. Um, so how I had it set up was I had um, this running, capturing ETW. I had sysmon running for extra visibility into like the telemetry,
Uh-huh.
and I had it forwarding sysmon, like event logs, like all that typical stuff to Splunk, and the alerts. So like I could literally start building out like, okay, I ran this. These processes spawned because of sysmon data, like reached out to this network connection, spawned this process, and then it triggered the alert. So like you can see like a full timeline of stuff like right in your home lab, um, without needing any commercial level EDR. So it's
I mean,
great.
can you show us? Like, do you have your home lab running?
I don't.
Okay.
Uh, I had to rip out. I had my home lab built, and Windows Microslop did some weird things, and I couldn't connect to the internet anymore on like my host PC, and I had to like completely rebuild my desktop from scratch. So all my virtualization is gone.
This is
Uh,
such a sick project, honestly.
yeah. Um, I highly recommend this to anybody who's trying to get EDR experience because I did not have this,
So we have
and
a
I'm really
bunch
glad
of
it's
friends
out.
that love creating ER bypasses. They'll probably love this too.
We may or may have or may not have friends that love creating ER classes.
Well,
No. Oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no, it's fine. I just realized I've been sharing my screen with like take home tests from Zscaler. I don't know if that matters, but
Did you show any of it? We'll go back into it. And
I didn't show any of it. It's just the tab. You can just
oh,
whatever. I don't care.
no, we can blur that out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can blur it out. We'll blur it
All right,
out.
cool.
Yeah. So I think the last section, like before we
No,
cut this,
we'll take a break right now because we'll probably cut this part out.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to like?
How long have we been recording for?
Yeah.
Also, the recording will you come up too?
I don't know yet. We'll see.
Okay, I mean it doesn't matter, but because I honestly I want to put this episode on Spotify. Yo, Dylan, like this episode's fucking fire, bro. I want to put this one on Spotify.
Probably like more than an hour and a half.
Okay. I mean, I think the closing note can be on like content creation.
Yeah, okay.
Just speak
And
loosely
then
how
tease like the interview
and
portion.
then speak tease the second episode, but I think we ended off on like content creation, using social media as a journal for, learning.
It depends on how tired you are too, because
Oh yeah,
this could also be part of the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a good stopping point. I don't know.
Okay.
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Um,
question.
Unless
Yeah.
you want, I mean, I just feel like unless you want to squeeze content in there, it just feels weird to go from scatter spider to content. But we
Okay.
can.
I think what we can do is just shout out your content because I mean
Yeah.
this is the first time people are like hearing about you from our channel.
And then the next episode, we can like we'll hit at the next episode. We'll talk about content creation. We'll talk about
Like his content creation journey.
his content creation journey and have a mock interview
Okay.
and speak about that. So
But
Yeah,
then
yeah, I think because I think content can probably take up almost a whole episode in itself.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, so
Uh,
should we just end it off?
yeah, we'll just end it off here then.
Yeah, you can do
all
it.
right.
Okay. Well, Dylan, that was a great presentation, dude. I think that, I'd want to post this on Spotify, listen through this again. That's just how valuable I thought that presentation on Scatter Spider and just your insight has been. Yeah, big W. I wanted to thank you again for coming on. I don't know if you have anything else to say, but I did want to hint at a second episode. We spoke where we're gonna talk about Dylan's journey in content creation. Shout out Dylan. I don't know if you want to, say your ad for your IG. And we also want to talk about a potential mock interview where we're going to go over some scenarios and speak about, how does that look like on our end, investigating those scenarios and, what makes the investigation good, the triage good enough for someone to progress to the second or third round and, eventually get the job. So, yeah, and you want to shout your stuff out, Dylan? I don't know if you have any other
No,
thoughts.
this is our second time talking to you. We've already had great info for both talks, and I want more. So, we want to get you on again, and yeah, go ahead and shout yourself out.
Yeah, I love to come back talk about content. I post content on Instagram really at cybersecdill. And yeah, we can definitely do some mock interviewing tips and talk about content creation.
Hell yeah.
Also, all right, bye.
Sweet.
But
Awesome.
Why do